To tell the story of the Manitoulin Group of Companies, first, we must look all the way back over 125 years ago to the small town of Gord, Ontario. It's here that Fred Smith created the Merchants Dock Company in 1893. Operating as a freight forwarder from the ships that plied the Great Lakes at the turn of the 19th century. From this dock business, Fred and his brothers would purchase a store in 1908 as Smith Brothers General Merchants. In post-World War II Canada, Fred's son Bill left the store business and opened a successful wholesale and warehousing company. Smith's Wholesale eventually sold off the warehouse business, and with the acquisition of Hills Transport in 1960, Bill's son Doug renamed it Manitoulin Transport. This was the start of a new era for Manitoulin and the first step in a long journey to becoming the transportation company we know today. Over the years, Manitoulin would expand exponentially in size, acquiring new companies and finding new ways to better serve the public with each passing decade. From its humble beginnings in Northern Ontario, it grew to provincial, to national, to international. Manitoulin Group of Companies soon established itself as one of the global market leaders in logistics and transportation. Join fourth generation, present-day Smith brothers, Gord and Jeff, as we take an exclusive look into the inner workings of Manitoulin Group of Companies and the history that shaped their company into today's global, value-delivering solution for the world's transportation needs. We caught up with Gord and Jeff Smith in Gord, Ontario, to help give some insight and tell the story of the Manitoulin Group of Companies.
So here we are, Gord, chatting on our 60th anniversary.
Incredible to think it's been 60 years already, and it all started with our great-grandfather, Fred Smith, over a century ago.
That's right, Gord. In the early 1890s, Fred and his brother Will came to Manitoulin Island, and it wasn't too much longer after that they got into the merchant's dock business.
So they had the docks, they had warehousing, they had a livery service, which was horse and buggy, I guess, back then.
So the merchant's dock stuck out in the middle of the Gord Harbor, and that serviced the town of Gord.
So I think in around 1908, there was a big fire in Gord. A lot of the businesses were lost.
Exactly. So there's about 15 businesses that get burned down in the Great Fire of Gord in 1908. Fred finds a general store that's slightly smoke damaged and decides that that would be a good business to get into.
So had the general store for how many years?
The general store morphed into Smith Brothers store, and it was open till the early 1980s. But really the split off was in 1949 when our grandfather Bill decided to get into the wholesale business.
So then Bill ran that for a number of years, and I believe ended up selling to National Grocers late 1950s.
That's right. So the wholesale business started to get into some trucking towards the late 1950s when our father Doug joined the company in 1955.
Produce and groceries from Toronto to Manitoulin Island, frozen turkeys from Manitoulin Island to Toronto. And our head office was above the killing room and the turkey plant.
Before my time, but apparently it was. Fortunately, we moved out of that into a proper head office, which we've added to over the years. So two big things happened in 1960. The wholesale business is sold to National Grocers, and our father, Doug, buys Hills Transport, giving him a license to run LTL between Toronto and Manitoulin Island. And then he expands over those years through the 60s and 70s, doing acquisitions of licenses in a very highly regulated market, which then falls apart in 1988 with deregulation.
We could have done the same as many other carriers and not done anything and just try to protect your turf. But thankfully, our father, Doug, took it as a very opportunistic time to be able to go and look at some of the interlines we were doing business with. That sparked the growth that really started what we are today.
The acquisitions have not seemingly stopped since then?
No. Maybe the next key moment for us was when we put together our first strategic business plan in 1999.
So we had a gentleman named Al Koch, who was a retired colonel from the U.S. military. He came in and tried to take very different opinions of what the company should become at some point in time.
That's one of the best things we ever did, was get the whole group together, decide on a common platform, a common strategy, and a vision for the company. That's no looking back after that. And the group have now rewritten the next 10 years. So it's been a great ride, but there's lots more to come ahead.
The history of our company kind of shows how we've come from a dock business to a store business to a wholesale business to a transport business, and since then we've even got into many, many other businesses. So it's amazing to see the progression.
Be very interesting to see what this organization looks like in another 10 years. I think the sky's the limit. There's lots to do from here.